What's up, everybody? This is Clock Management. This is Kevin Tompkins. This is Andrew Cooper. We're going to hit you with all the interesting stuff for week one right after the intro. Hit you with the that's some like Jamiroquai vibes. Like
I like that. Yeah.
Little lo-fi, little chill in the afternoon. Coop, what's up, buddy? I mean, we don't get to do this too often, certainly not often enough. But if you don't know, Coupe Fiasco on Twitter, Andrew Cooper, Fantasy Alarms, tight end guru, FSWA's Writer of the Year, Article of the Year. Like, if there's an award from FSWA, Coop probably has won it in the last couple of years. But how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, dude. Yeah. So this is my first year actually winning any of them. I've been nominated a bunch. Every time I got nominated before, JJ Zacharias won all of those. So this is my first year actually winning, which is nice. So it's nice to be a winner. But hey, you know what? That was last year, bro. That was last year. This is this year. So forget the 2024. We're on to 2025, and we got a full slate on the books, baby.
Yeah, man. We got our game tonight, but look, we have a lot of football. We have some data points. We finally have some data points that we can stop talking about what could be and talk about what is. But before we do that, a couple questions in the chat. Jason William here. Thoughts on Dalton Kincaid? And look, who better to ask than the tight end guru about someone maybe I'm not as much in on, but I know, Coop, that's one of your guys, Dalton Kincaid, that you had a pretty big stance on. So would you drop him for Jake Ferguson?
Yeah, we would have liked to see Kincaid play more. Yes, the touchdown was nice, but it would have been nice to see him play a bigger snap share. He didn't quite get there this week. Yeah. The thing with Ferguson, the problem that I have is that if you truly believe that Ferguson is going to continue to get more targets than George Pickens week in, week out, then go for it. For me, I still have Lamb as a top dog, Pickens as 2, and Ferguson as 3. Some tight ends can get away with being third. Those guys are guys like George Kittle that run like a 4.52. Jake Ferguson runs a 4.8. So we have not seen the tight end that runs a 4.8 finish top 5 since Heath Miller in 2012. And you saw it this week. He got 6 targets, but only 23 yards because he doesn't really have the speed to get away from even linebackers and safeties. So for me, if I'm going to drop Kincaid, I got to drop him for somebody with a little more upside than Ferg personally. I mean, if you want to play it real safe, go ahead. But I don't know. Ferg just doesn't excite me. Doesn't get me all fired up.
Yeah, he's definitely the yin tight end, to be fair. As far as
if one of those wide receivers were to go down, though, I would definitely be in on Ferg because they really don't have another wide receiver that's going to come in and get 7-8 targets, right?
Yeah, like they use Turpin on like a lot of like the periphery stuff. They use him on the design stuff, but he's not going to be earning targets. Like you're not going to see, it's kind of like what we see with Philadelphia, where like one of those guys goes down. It's not like, Jahan Dotson comes up. It's just concentrated to 2 other guys. It's kind of the same thing.
170-yard game last year for Goddard when those guys are banged up. And then same with Cade Otton at times. I think Brenton Strange falls into that category now too, right? Where we saw, we'll get to those games, but like there's a lot of tight ends where they're one wide receiver injury away from being awesome. Jonnu Smith last year.
Yeah. And Jason back with one more thoughts on Stephon Diggs, dropped for Hollywood Coleman. Keon Coleman, big game, by the way. Keenan Allen, big game. Hollywood might be earning some targets, depending on what the health situation is in Kansas City. But thoughts on that before we hop into what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, so I'm a big Stephon Diggs guy. I do think he's going to get ramped up to a bigger workload, but I think right now you cannot pass on the opportunity that is Keon Coleman, right? Like of that group, Hollywood probably goes back in the bottle when Rashee Rice gets back. Keenan Allen is probably just going to continue to be kind of a short yardage A-dot target guy. He'll be fine, but like Coleman of that group probably has the biggest upside. I mean, he looked good yesterday, got a ton of targets. And he has crazy athleticism. So I think I actually would consider that, especially it sounds like this is a pretty shallow league if Keon Coleman didn't get drafted.
Yeah. And look, we kind of have to adjust our priors because, year 1 for Keon Coleman didn't look great. I think we get spoiled by a lot of the rookie wide receivers just absolutely crushing right out of the gate. So, it's going to take maybe 1 or 2 years for like these guys. This is like the normal wide receiver trajectory where, not everybody can be Jamar Chase or Brandon Ayuk or Justin Jefferson or anything like that. So, we definitely Keon Coleman is very, very interesting as far as an upside in an offense, is going to score a lot of points.
Right.
But let's talk. And I never thought I'd be talking about, I guess maybe, but like, are the Cleveland Browns like moderately interesting now? Because now we have possibly our tight end star, Harold Fannin. Like, this isn't just like package stuff. He ran 66% of the routes, 7 for 63 on 9 targets. Like, ran a little bit more in the slot than David Njoku did, but a lot of the tea leaves were that, it was possible that they could run a lot more 12 personnel. Harold Fannin could jump into the slot because they really didn't have a slot guy that they had Jamari Thrash and that time, they had Deontay Johnson in camp and stuff like that. But, it was never really a solidified thing. You had Judy, you had Cedric Tillman that was pretty solidified on the outside. And then it was kind of what are they going to do? And then bringing in Fannin, obviously in the 3rd round, maybe they could do that. And then he had a really good training camp, really good preseason. And now we saw it kind of manifest this week with Harold Fannin 7 for 63 and making this Browns offense along with Dylan Sampson pretty interesting. Like, what are your thoughts here on Harold Fannin going forward? And are we is the hype justified in like maybe shooting the moon and just adding him universally now?
Yeah, I mean, definitely in deeper leagues, or if we did have a couple tough injuries. If you lost Kittle, if you lost Evan Engram, like we don't know if those guys are going to be back playing. With this team, I mean, this is the Joe Flacco experience, right? 48 pass plays, I believe it was on the week. Like that's what he does. He plays huck it, chuck it football. As long as he's the quarterback, then we're going to see big volume. The thing is, like technically, when you look at the routes run, Fannin was 4th on the team behind Judy, behind Tillman, behind Njoku himself.
Yep.
And then he was 4th there. So I do have a little bit of concern. I honestly don't know for sure if he's going to be my top tight end waiver app this week. There's one other name out there that I wanted to bounce off you is that Juwan Johnson quietly played 74 of 75 snaps, got 11 targets, and with Chris Olave back in the tent, who knows over there? So I still got to do my research on that. It's either going to be Fannin or Juwan Johnson, but I mean, you have to be pumped if you have Fannin in Dynasty, right? Because we didn't even know if he was going to play. Some of these guys didn't even play. Terrence Ferguson hardly played. Even Elijah Arroyo took a backseat to AJ Barner. We thought he might get a pass roll. Ronde Gadsden wasn't even active. So in Dynasty, this is a huge win for a rookie to go out and get 9 targets in his first game. So as long as Flacco is the starter, this is a guy you can start. And I would definitely be looking to add him if you lost, if you lost Kittle or Engram, or even if your tight end's like Tucker Kraft and he's got a bye week 5. Kyle Pitts, Tucker Kraft. I mean, week 5 bye week means you need to add somebody during the month of September. So you might as well take a little peek, right? So if your tight end is Kraft or Pitts, definitely give it a look. Because, I mean, he looked awesome with the ball in his hands, right?
Yeah, I mean, duck-footed, running style aside, certainly. But look, dude made it work. Had like the best collegiate tight end season like of all time.
Yeah,
like
that conference. It just all the records are in that conference, right? I think Corey Davis has the most receiving yards ever over there. Case Keenum, was he that conference or was he a different conference?
He was. I think he went to Houston, I want to say.
So that's
one of those weird schools.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the records come out of there. But I mean, hey, this guy, dude, I mean, he looked as advertised. Sure hands, stayed grounded on everything too, which a lot of times you see these rookies or young guys, they jump or they feel like they have to do something right when the ball gets to them. Not him, man. He looked comfortable, big time comfortable. So
yeah, and this is the profile of like guys that we want in fantasy. Like if you're not going to get a guy like a George Kittle that's going to be out on every snap, blocking or receiving, the blocking stuff is whatever, but that gets you more play action opportunity. You want a guy like Fannin who he might block a little bit, pass blocked on 2.8% of snaps, but still the guy that has an amazing receiving profile that's being used day one. Like
Right.
that's all the signs are there for a guy like that.
And people will say, "Oh, well, they can't throw 50 times every week." Well, I mean, look at Joe Flacco in 2023 on this team. Look at Joe Flacco on the Colts. Look at Joe Flacco on the Jets. Like he is just he wants the ball out of his hands as quickly as possible, which is probably smart when you're 50 years old. So, I mean, they might be able to throw it 40 times every week.
Yeah, and then the slight concern too is how long is Joe Flacco going to be starting?
That's the problem.
Cleveland Browns. Yeah,
that's why you don't just drop your tight end and say, "Oh, I got Fannin, that's it." Like we don't even we don't even know if Fannin is going to, outproduce Njoku every week. This happens all the time in football, where it's like they come out and do something you didn't expect. You didn't practice for it. You didn't plan for it. You were putting your best cover tight end on Njoku because you didn't know what this guy was capable of. And now teams have one game's worth of film and they are going to adjust to that. And then maybe next week Njoku comes out and has a crazy game. That's the problem with some of these two tight end offenses. You see it all the time with Arthur Smith too, where it's like just when you think you know who the guy is, boom, rug pull. So, but
we will talk about Arthur Smith. Let us, we won't bury that quite yet, but
Sal Sarna with a good question in the chat. The last time a team had two viable fantasy tight ends, it actually was Gronk and Voldemort Hernandez. That was the one time. That was the only time I remember that when a team had two top 5 tight ends. A team has had two top 12 tight ends before. Since then, it was Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert on the Eagles.
When we were hoping with the free Dallas Goedert movement.
Yeah.
That was alive and strong.
Never quite got freed.
No, he is still a little bit shackled there in Philadelphia, but it is what it is. But yeah, that's the big thing is how Fannin will do with because you got to figure Fannin's probably good Flacco is probably good for half the season at least.
Yeah.
And then you're probably going to get into those rookie quarterbacks. And that's where a lot of the issues lie with how are they going to, who is he going to target between Judy and Tillman. And then, you get into the Skylar Thompson corollary or Dorian Thompson Robinson.
Yeah. It creates a very weird situation because with some of these other teams, like take the Bengals on the other side of this game, it doesn't matter if they win or lose the games because Joe Flacco is always going to be the guy. T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Chase Brown, they're always going to be the guy. If you're a fan of what happened with the Browns this weekend, you are rooting for the Browns to win, right? Like if their over under win total is 4.5. If they win this game, that's huge. Like you need Flacco to start as long as possible. If they get to the point of the season where it's like 10 games in and they have 4 wins, that's when Dylan Gabriel comes out throwing lefty whatevers, and then Shedeur Sanders gets a chance, right? And Bailey Zappi gets a chance, and it all the way down the line until Deshaun Kaiser gets a chance, right? Like that's the Browns. That's Browns football.
Kelly Holcomb,
Kelly Holcomb, yeah, exactly. Everybody gets a run.
Yeah, you want that runway as someone who rosters Fannin, but on another side of the ball, or not the side of the ball, but Dylan Sampson, like that running back thing was pretty interesting as far as Dylan Sampson being so widely utilized in the passing game, and Dylan Sampson was running all throughout camp with Quinshon Judkins, his legal issues, and then obviously he's been unsigned, just got signed. I'm a bit interested to see if like Dylan Sampson, it's possible he could just not completely, but he could hold off Quinshon Judkins and still return value. Like we've seen running backs that are, multiple running backs in a draft class, like Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams. Like we've seen that with the Packers where Aaron Jones was drafted, round after Jamal Williams. They drafted, I think, Devontae Mays a little bit later too. Green Bay tends to draft like multiple guys at one position to see who sticks. MVS, Jamon Moore, Equanimeous St. Brown. They famously do that too. But it's not out of the realm of possibility to see, just because we've seen Dylan Sampson, have one good game. He's been with camp in camp the whole time that he can hold off Judkins.
Yeah, it would have been nice if Sampson just flat out got all the work, because then when you could even pencil in and say, okay, Judkins comes back, but Sampson retains part of the job. The annoying thing is that, and Nathan Yonke does really great work with utilization over at PFF. So I went and he posts charts sometimes of the running back usage. I know, so I went and checked it out, and I was surprised because I was like, wow, Samson. From what I saw, I was like, Samson played the whole dang game. And then when I was rewatching the game and kind of checking out the charts, it wasn't necessarily the case. It was annoying that so he got the early downs, he got the short yardage work, except for goal line where Jerome Ford and Raheem Rocket Sanders
who ended up scoring a touchdown.
And Rocket got the touchdown. So there were 5 goal line carries. Rocket got 2, and Jerome Ford got 3. And then on third downs, Jerome Ford played 12-2. That's per PFF data. So, and the 2-minute drill was also Jerome Ford. So that does scare me a little bit. We do I still do the RB questionnaire over at Fantasy Alarm where I'm going to update that. But it's like, you got to roster Samson right now. I'm hoping that Jerome Ford just kind of goes away. Like he was very close to just being gone. Like if Judkins didn't screw up, Jerome Ford had to renegotiate his contract and take less money just to stay. Like he was
Jerome Ford would be a cowboy right now.
More than likely. It was so close to being gone, and then now he's just like annoying. Because if it was just Judkins and Samson, that would be great.
Yeah, that's what we want. I have a feeling Jerome Ford's not going away anytime soon, which is awful. But that's fantasy. That's the stuff we gotta. But efficiency breeds opportunity. So you're just hoping that.
I have no interest in rostering Jerome Ford.
No, I don't either. I mean, he's, I would outright drop him. Yeah. If we see him, Samson close the gap on Ford in terms of routes and snaps. Like once we see that, then I think it's Jover as it gets.
Right. And you also have to, every time with rookies, every time you have to leave room for the possibility that Quinshon Judkins shows up and he just doesn't get it, or he's just not good. Like there's some of these guys just don't figure out the playbook. They can, especially on pass downs, they never get a chance to play because they don't understand it. So you have to leave room for the possibility that Quinshon Judkins shows up and he's just not good. Like you said, our running backs from down the depth chart beat out the other guys all the time, Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. So we talked about one tight end. Let's talk about another. Let's talk about Tyler Warren. Awesome. In my famous stance, and I've been proven wrong time and time again, and I'll be wrong about a lot of things. Just yesterday in the group chat, talk about JSN. Dude comes out and gets 90% of the air yards for the Seahawks.
So the timing of you saying that made me so mad, dude. I was so mad at you. I put my phone down, and I will literally. Me and Laney just watch football without my phone because I was so mad at you. And then as I'm watching the game, and he gets the 13 targets, I was so ready to go back and just dog you, but I was like, you know what? I was like, you know what, dude, he sees it. He sees the target. So, but dude, JSN, a bad pick at ADP. I was steaming, dude.
I mean, look, that was a week ago, Kevin. The things have changed.
Monday morning, Kevin. Yeah. I mean, you know what? He could still be a bad target because I don't know. The Seahawks looked whatever. But we can talk about the Seahawks after. Let's talk about Tyler Warren right now.
Yeah, let's talk about Tyler Warren.
That's the good news.
That is that's a great news. I mean, if you're in on top, because Tyler Warren, I think there were some warts. We all want the next Brock Bowers. I mean, trust me, that's what we all want in fantasy. Tyler Warren was kind of getting talked up about that. And, there were some holes in his profile just because he, was a 5th-year guy that he produced in that 5th year that really couldn't get over the Theo Johnson and Brenton Strange hump. So that was some concern there. And then how Indianapolis has historically used tight ends, where they've had the Mo Alley Coxes, the Andrew Ogletrees, the Will Mallorys, all these just jags at tight end. And then, they go and draft a guy and you want to kind of hold on to those priors. But obviously Tyler Warren is different. The fact that they used him just, Mo Alley Cox was still involved 33% of the routes. Ogletree was hanging around too. But to see Warren out at the outset, lead the team in targets, 7 for 76, 73% routes, definitely a great sign for a guy that we're probably going to be putting in the top, at the very least, the top 10.
Yeah. And here's the real killer. Like this is what separates someone like Tyler Warren from some of these other guys, right? This is the big difference between Fannin and Tyler Warren, is that imagine a situation where you have the Browns and they go out and they do what they did, except instead of Jerry Jeudy and Tillman playing 67 snaps and getting 8 targets apiece, one of them only plays half the game. because that's what you got with the Colts. That's the big difference maker, and why it's wheels up for Tyler Warren is that Josh Downs, a lot of people looked at his metrics, his yards per route run, his targets per route run, all that stuff, and they wanted him to play more, and he simply didn't. He simply didn't. He's a part-time guy that only plays slot in 3 wide receiver sets, right? He played just under 50% of the snaps, ran just over 50%. So we're talking 49% of the snaps, 51% of the routes. That leaves the door wide open because Alec Pierce is the field stretcher, and he's just not really, unless a team is just brutally bad with safeties or they play a ton of man-to-man and they're just getting beat. Like, Alec Pierce is not a guy that needs 9, 10 targets. He's just not in his role. So it's going to be Pittman. And then since Downs is a part-time guy, Tyler Warren is wide open to be a top 2 target on the team. And he got 9 targets this week. He got a carry, which we wanted to see that too because of his profile. Like, to me, Downs moves down, Warren moves up, and that's all you need in this world. Because the reason we say top 2 target is because the number 1 tight end season of all time was Rob Gronkowski in a year where Wes Welker got 173 targets. So Warren doesn't need to lead the team in targets to be a guy. He just needs to be number 2. So I'm feeling really good. I mean, again, you don't get to play the Dolphins every week, but you got to feel good about Warren and Pittman, and not so good about Josh Downs, unfortunately, for the Downs truthers. But Downs is a talented player. I think the thing that happens with a guy like Josh Downs is that, like, they're either going to pay him or they're going to let him walk, and whatever team pays him is going to make him an every down player. So Downs, I think, will get his chance at some point, but doesn't look like it's right now. Only 17 routes run versus Pittman ran 29, and Warren ran 24. So,
yeah, and that's interesting because Downs has been nursing injury too. So right. that could have something to do with it, but it is very concerning.
It goes back to last year. That's why I think that it's like, why mess with it? Why change what you've been doing? And the real killer, Tompkins, is that last year we had 2 different games, one that Pittman was out and one that Alec Pierce was out. And in both of those games, they didn't elevate Downs. Adonai Mitchell came in and played that role. Yep. So it's like, what is it really going to take for this guy to be a full-time player? The Colts are the number 1 team, in my opinion, that should be looking to trade a wide receiver. Trade somebody, dude. You got 4 good ones. I like Adonai Mitchell.
He's me too. I mean, he's only getting 50% of routes a game. Like, what are you doing?
He can do what Alec Pierce does, in my opinion. So
probably better, honestly.
Probably better. So instead of extending Alec Pierce, find a way to move him,
Yeah. But it's not great for Downs. Going forward, I would certainly be he's probably on your bench, at least. Nice place on your bench, and then you might be looking to find somebody. I mean, look, he's probably going to have good games. I mean, the efficiency has always kind of been there for a healthy Josh Downs. But when you're the 3rd target and Michael Pittman's never coming off the field as your ex receiver, that's never happening. So you're really just pigeonholed into hoping you get that second contract with the, whatever team, the Jaguars or the Falcons or something like that.
The big problem that Downs ran into is that last year they started using Pierce in more of those X receiver situations, basically just saying to Pierce, okay, line up as the X receiver and just run past this guy and beat the jam that way. And then Pittman started playing more flanker, but like if you want Downs on the field, you need Pittman to be X and you need Downs to be able to play flanker, because Downs is never going to be able to beat the jam. So that whole setup, it kind of, I mean, it sucks because I have a ton of Downs in Dynasty. I didn't really do a lot of them in redraft, but like all that is good news for Tyler Warren. So it's wheels up there.
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta figure he's probably a top 7, top 8 guy. Going forward.
I mean, we just lost Kittle, we lost Ingram, so I mean, by default, right? He kind of moves up to 7, 8 minimum.
Yep. Let's talk about, we're going to talk about a couple things with this team. Is Travis Hunter. Like, Travis Hunter, everybody wanted to know what kind of, they called him a full-time wide receiver, part-time cornerback. And that was pretty much, what happened there. He paid he played, let me take a look here, because I just had it pulled up here. 82% of the routes. I think that was a pretty bullish figure. Even calling him a full-time wide receiver, it's almost like I want to see it before you're going out and throwing those monikers around. But a lot of shorter, a lot of design stuff. I mean, I am pretty bullish. One of my big stances for the Jaguars was that Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter would combine for over 50% of the Jags targets, being a very condensed target tree there. I think Brenton Strange can kind of maybe gum up the works on that specifically, but it was very interesting to see how they were trying to scheme stuff for Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas. Bad game. It is what it is. Still end up getting a rushing touchdown to kind of salvage the day. But, I'm still pretty intrigued on Travis Hunter if they're going to be scheming him to this degree. And then, watching him on defense trying to cover Tedero McMillan. I mean, like, good luck, buddy.
Yeah, bro. I feel I'm right there with you, man. Like, BTJ is going to be fine. You lock him in your lineup every single week. And Travis Hunter, I mean, they did what we thought they were going to do. 3 wide receiver sets with BTJ, Hunter, and De'Ami Brown. De'Ami Brown is kind of your field stretcher gadget guy. They give him like an end around or 2 or whatever. And then Brenton Strange is a every down inline tight end. I know they did mix the other tight ends a little bit. They stole the touchdown, which stinks, but it's like Brenton Strange to me now, like wherever you rank Dallas Goedert, Brenton Strange should be right in that same spot where it's like he's probably the 3rd target on the team. He has some standalone value. If one of the wide receivers gets hurt, now all of a sudden he's a guy that we're excited to start. We're excited to use in DFS. And he is a DFS play in general, depending what his price is going to be. But once again, 23 of 34 routes, fine. 4 targets, tied De'Ami Brown for 3rd on the team, fine. He's just another one of those guys that's like a back end tight end 1, tie end tight end 2. I'm not going crazy to get him, but you can definitely start him while you look for a breakout or while you wait for a wide receiver to get hurt. For Brenton Strange, you really were rooting for Travis Hunter to fail, and I think that this week shows that he's probably not going to.
Yeah, that's kind of a hard bet to make for the reigning Heisman Trophy, and some of the best endurance in the NFL guys going to play 2 ways for that guy to fail.
One of the best scouts from the best GM tree in James Gladstone traded up to take him at 2nd overall. That's why it wasn't a bet that out, right? Like, I'm not gonna bet against that guy.
Yeah, no. Guy that looks, younger than Andrew Erickson. Shout out, by the way.
He does.
He really does. I mean, look, fountain of youth. Like, keep that going, brother. Yeah. But on the same team, looking at the running backs, like that was the big, with how are they gonna work out ETN, Tank Bigsby, and they ended up. Surprise, a new challenger appears. LaQuinn Allen is getting some work as well with Bachel Tootin. Obviously Tootin and Allen were pretty far down. Even Bigsby was pretty far down. Like, I did not expect ETN to get the bulk of the early down work. I mean, at one point we were looking at after the delay, we're looking in the 3rd quarter, and Bigsby is like playing like 1 or 2 snaps, and then he got a lot of stuff in the second half. But
yeah, Bigsby he didn't even play really until after the rain delay. And again, that's tough for me because I had Bigsby as I thought he was going to be the early down back. So I had my exposures. I probably have 20% Bigsby in underdog, which is quite a bit for me. I usually don't. I think my highest, I only have like 1 player over 30%, which is Michael Pittman. Everybody else is like 25 highest.
Even I drafted Pittman. That should tell you something.
I had Bigsby at about 20, and I had ETN like 10% because I was just kind of making sure I got one of them. I didn't have a ton of Tootin. I have no LaQuinn Allen. I mean, like, obviously we all knew the name, and there are people out there that were beating the drum, but I mean, he played a little bit. He played a decent amount. So yeah, Bigsby definitely on the back burner for now, especially because ETN showed up. Like, you could have hope with the usage game. You can look at it sometimes and say, okay, well, this guy got all the snaps, but he didn't play well. Like, with the Patriots, Ramondre Stevenson played more in all phases, including pass downs, but he didn't look great. So you could still say, hey, you know what? Henderson can carve away that role. If ETN's going to play the way he played, there's no wiggle room even for Tank Bigsby to steal the work there. And Bigsby's not that great of a pass catcher, so he has to run the ball well. So kind of a tough hit for me on that front, but hey, I do have some ETN. So, and it's definitely, I mean, ETN's a guy. He might be available on some waivers, shallow leagues for sure.
Yeah. It was interesting to see because Nate Yonke puts up also, those graphics you were just talking about. Just the thing that popped out to me was LaQuinn Allen being the 3rd down back. 8 third down snaps to 1 for ETN, one for Bigsby. So that's clearly a role that they're like defining for him. So I think that's very interesting as well. And that's going to lead to some, like, it feels like empty calorie stuff for Tank Bigsby. If he's going to get anything, which that kind of back is going to be on waiver wires. Like, that's not anything you can really use. I mean, unless you're predicting like a big game script, and I don't think you can really do that with any Jaguars game. unless they're playing like the Saints or something like that, or, some team. Cam Ward keeps looking terrible, some of the division games, but yeah, I think Tank Bigsby is really behind the 8 ball. I had said they put him up on blocks, and, that's pretty much where we're at right now. With ETN is probably, he's a mid-range RB2 right now. If this utilization holds, like, I think ETN is back at least in the good graces for fantasy. And, I think we're keeping an eye on LeQuint Allen a little bit, but, nothing to look. It would take an injury.
Yeah, well, exactly. Because Quinn Allen, yes, he played a very specific role, but he still only played like 10 snaps.
Yeah.
9-10 snaps. Like ETN played 40. That's he's the dog right now. So yeah, he's in the lineup for sure, and we'll just keep monitoring that. But yeah, Bigsby definitely didn't show up, dude, which is I know he oddly ran some routes, but didn't get only 5 carries to 16 for ETN. So yeah, it's a tough one. Tough hit.
Yeah.
Also, you didn't those guys are most likely on your bench anyway, so it's not like a guy that you were making a priority.
Right, but you want those guys on, certainly on bye weeks when we start getting in, rosters start getting thinner. Your player
ETN's in your lineup now. Yeah, exactly. It's like ETN's in your lineup. Like Bigsby is, I'm not going to necessarily drop him, but if he doesn't play again next week, I will.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go to the Chargers. Let's talk about that, the wide receiver splits there, because everybody wants to write the obituary for Quentin Johnston. We've been trying to write that since week 1 of last season. But 2 touchdowns, 5 for 79. Was going to run a ton of routes, 88% of routes on Friday night. Lad McConkey, we drafted him in the late 2nd round into the 3rd round. Was pretty awesome. Then Keenan Allen, finding a little fountain of youth there, leading the team in targets, 10 targets, 7 for 68 and a touchdown. I mean, it's a pretty solidified trio there.
Right.
But the thing that gets me is that Greg Roman offense, Jim Harbaugh, 13% pass rate over expected. I know that kind of jives with what they did at the, in the second half of last season, but it's still very jarring to see Greg Roman possibly have learned something about the modern NFL to maybe let Justin Herbert kind of sling it a little bit and having success doing it. I think that's interesting.
Right. Also, just this idea of hey, you know what? As soon as the other teams think they know what you're going to do something different. Why wouldn't they lean into that? And the offensive line held up okay pass blocking. The run blocking, they're going to need to get some continuity going. I know they lost Rashawn Slater, had to move Joe Alt over, but Herbert had all sorts of time to throw the ball. And I think the biggest thing was that Trey Harris didn't play. I mean, he played 5 snaps or whatever it was. So that's huge, because sometimes with these teams, if it's a 4-man rotation, then you get nothing, or you get one guy like Lad McConkey. Since it's 3 guys playing the majority of the snaps, I think that these guys can potentially, be viable. I mean, it's hard to have 3 guys all being viable, but the tight ends were not involved at all really in the pass game. What did Conklin get 2 targets or whatever? So
he had that long catch and run there that Aranda Gadsden would have housed, but that's neither here nor there.
I know, got to get Gaston out there, but yeah, I mean, the 3 wide receivers, it's 2, Quinn Johnston. So let me ask you, would you rather have Quinn Johnston or Keenan Allen if you had to pick full PPR?
Man, I think I would. Well, they're even. For me, they're even. I think it would probably depend on the time of day. I would maybe say Johnson one time and out. So I think that's probably should tell you right there the back end wide receiver 3s that obviously deserve to be on rosters. If this is going to be a regular thing especially with their pass rate over expected, if they're going to be passing a lot more than we anticipate, if they're going to reach, maybe 580 pass attempts, that's not nothing. That's top half of the league still.
Yeah. And even I'm a big Keenan Allen fan, but typically if it's this close, I lean into snaps and who's just running more routes and playing more snaps. And that was Quentin Johnston this week. So, I mean, he's probably the ad for me. Definitely in standard or half PPR, it's Quentin Johnston. But it's close. It's close in PPR.
Yeah, I agree. And then it was nice to see also Martin Hampton just getting out there and just kind of dusting Najee Harris. I think maybe some of the eye stuff had helped, but that seems a little far-fetched. I mean, I really do think that them putting out Hampton, they obviously put some serious draft capital into him, and then letting him get out there 80% of the snaps, 61% of the routes. Some of the efficiency wasn't there. Didn't look like super great, but the opportunity at the outset is, what we're really banking on.
Yeah, and that's the thing is this offseason with these old school style coaches, Harbaugh and Roman, like you do worry that like they lean on the veterans like they did at wide receiver, and then Najee would play a ton, but same thing as it goes with these old school coaches. You're out drinking on the 4th of July and you blow your eye off, and you end up in the doghouse, dude. And he missed, if you miss all the installments for all these plays, he wasn't with this team last year, so he missed all the installments. He missed everything. You see that with a few of these backfields as we go through that, like. If a new coordinator comes in and you aren't there, then you're going to give up a big chunk of your role because they will see things they like and say, okay, we like that. Let's make sure that's part of the game plan, that play with that player. And if you're not out there, like Najee wasn't the entire summer, then he's not going to get those looks. So we'll have to see what it looks like next week. But I mean, like Hampton, 15 carries to 1. There's to me, the odds of it coming out and being even close to even this week are pretty low. I like Najee's. When the young guy takes over early, it's very difficult for the old guy to come back into the fold.
It is a more uphill climb than I think anybody realizes. Yeah, and that's the kind of the same thing we were talking about with Judkins and Sampson. Sampson was in camp the whole time. Judkins. That's some of the best reps that you're going to get are so you don't get bad habits, with your team. You get those early training camp OTAs, stuff like that. And Judkins not being with the team at all, that lends a little bit more credence to the Dylan Sampson, stuff.
And how many times have you heard former quarterbacks that are calling the games say, like Tom Brady says it all the time, Tony Romo says it all the time, Kurt Warner said it on the YouTube broadcast. When a team goes out there on 4th down or a two-point conversion, they say, oh, great, now we get to see their best play, right? Like now we get to see their best play. And that's a play that like all summer they're doing these 2-minute drills, these goal line drills, and this play is just working and working and working, right? If you're not even there, like Quinshon Judkins is never going to get that play call because they don't have a play for him because he's never played for the team, right? Yeah. So it's like, it is kind of interesting that like guys like Amari Hampton and Dylan Sampson, like they might have that play. It's like a fake handoff off the gut, and they flick it to the running back around the edge, and it's working every time. Like, that's why, especially with new young guys and new offenses, you got to earn those plays.
Yeah, absolutely. We did talk about Gadsden too. Like, it would be nice to. I like seeing the clunky white dudes just running out there like Will Dissly and Tyler Conklin, but like,
shout out Syracuse, dude.
I mean, shout out Q's. Get the dude active. Like, honestly,
it makes no sense at all.
Classic,
dude. I had to get that in there.
Yeah, there's a few things that made no sense at all this weekend, man. Let me tell you.
Anything on your mind?
The Brock Bowers usage was dumb.
Yeah. We did. Yeah. We were. I
watched the Patriots because I had the Patriots game on my 1 o'clock on my side TV because I'm a Patriots fan, and I'm just like, what are they doing? Like, why isn't their best player on the field every play? Because Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers are their best 2 players, and I get it. They like Trey Tucker, and they want to get Dante Thornton out there, but I don't know. Maybe the knee was bothering him coming into the game, and he did leave with a bit of a knee issue. So that's my thoughts. That maybe he's been kind of dealing with this knee thing. They knew he was going to play, so you're not going to put him on the injury report. But like, that made no sense that he would be that he wouldn't be out there for 90% of the snaps.
Yeah, that makes no sense at all.
No.
Honestly, like, yeah, I understand wanting to get other like Michael Mayer and all these other guys, but like,
especially because he looked
off your nose to spite your face.
Exactly, and he looked great. That was the most annoying part, is that he still had 100 yards. Like
my targets per route run leagues, crush it.
Yeah, crush it, because it's like he looked so good when he was out there that it's like, okay, just leave him out there. Why are you taking him out of the game? So that was super annoying. Trying to think what else. Not really. There wasn't really too much else where I looked at and I was like, this is odd. This is like really strange. That one really jumped out.
Yeah, let's hit. Well, we got a couple questions about a certain Denver Broncos wide receiver, Twitch Gang. I know you have your glasses out for that.
So actually, the Twitch glasses, I was wearing them yesterday, but I have my Miami flu glasses that we'll wear instead of Twitch.
There you go. Do you think Marvin Mims is droppable? I mean, it's funny because you and me talked about Evan Engram during the offseason, and the hope was that the routes and stuff would consolidate for a guy like Evan Engram to be like the clear second target behind Courtland Sutton. And we've really just seen the status quo with Sean Payton and how he manages all this personnel. We saw Marvin Mims more routes than he's gotten. Like last season, he didn't have one route share over 50%. Right. So you saw him get 63% of the routes this week. Obviously, 3 for 12, 4 targets, not great. But 11 Broncos had a target, not one, and one of them was not Pat Bryant. Like he was just out there.
He played like 2 snaps. He ran like 2 routes, dude.
Right.
Yeah. So with Marvin Mims, I wasn't really in. I was in on Sutton. I was in on Engram. Engram unfortunately left with a calf injury.
Yeah, so, that's rough.
Yeah, not ideal. He got 4 targets. I mean, the thing with Mims is that last year, he had the most insane usage in that 70% of his targets, 70% were at or behind the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
They were virtually all screens. And the only other guys I've seen have that level of usage was legit like Laviska Shenault year. Rondale Moore, yeah, like they were really manufacturing the touches for him. It was basically either it was screens or deep balls, which if you're really good at those, you can get away with it. I mean, Santana Moss used to kind of be like that.
That's what we want with like Xavier Worthy. We want him to get the manufactured stuff and then also get the deep stuff.
And you got to have at least some intermediate routes, like a comeback or something that you can, crossing route
or whatever. Yeah.
So the problem is that just like last year, one guy ran 90% of the routes and then everybody else was 60 or below. Right. So even Engram before he got hurt wasn't running as many routes as I wanted him to, so really right now is Sutton and then nobody. When Engram went down, Lucas Kroll stepped in and like we watched that last year and it wasn't that great. So we'll have to see what Engram looks like, but it's Sutton and Engram. What do you make of this running back situation? Because Dobbins played more. Harvey looked pretty good though when he got the touches. How are you feeling about the Harvey situation there?
And then Tyler Bidet, it was 6 targets, like just out there, satelliting it up. Like Harvey looked that one long run that he looked like shot out of a cannon. Like he did look really good. But yeah, I mean, I think this was always the thesis of the play where you knew it was going to be more of a split. And we know Sean Payton, the typical how he manages everybody, especially in the run game. So like, I'm totally fine. He's had multiple backs be fantasy relevant. I mean, just going back to the Saints with the billions of running backs, Pierre Thomas and, it's a laundry list. So I'm not super worried. I mean, we all want pieces of this, Joe Lombardi, offense where they're going to be funneling high value touches to all these running backs. And even, J.K. Dobbins is a pretty viable, like flex play. I mean, as long as he's going to get 53% of the, the rush attempts, I mean, I think he's certainly very much in play there. But even RJ Harvey, I think it was interesting to see that. And we just said, efficiency breeds opportunity. Hopefully we could see a little more out of him, but I don't know if he's like right there in terms
of the big problem.
Encouraging.
The big problem you run into with Harvey from this week is that, so this is a game I did go back and watch this morning, and they had a 2-minute drill. And Tyler Bidet got the snaps. And the reason that it's so important to be on the 2-minute drill is that you don't have substitutions until you call a timeout or the 2-minute drill. Everyone stays on the field. You have to know all the plays. You have to know all the schemes. But when you're that guy, you get a lot of those snaps. You get them in rapid fire, and you can get like 3, 4, 5 targets just out of nowhere, right? And Tyler Bidet got them. Then when they called the timeout, it was either timeout or they hit the 2-minute drill. J.K. Dobbins came in. So RJ Harvey got none of those snaps. That tells me that they don't trust him to either know enough of the playbook or know the pass blocking schemes. You cannot be Austin Eckler. You cannot be Alvin Kamara, which was the hopes for guys like Travion Henderson and RJ Harvey. You cannot be those guys unless you're the 2-minute drill back. It's simple as that. You don't get to a 10-target game as Alvin Kamara or Eckler unless you're like the go-to guy when the team says, okay, we're going to throw 10 passes in 4 minutes right now. You know what I mean? You got to be out there. You have to be out there. So for Harvey right now, he, for me, is a guy that I am only starting in very deep leagues and just cross our fingers that he runs away with that job. Again, Kamara didn't quite have that job as a rookie either right away. He was got it behind it. He really didn't go crazy until they traded Adrian Peterson away. So, you just got to hope this guy figures it out. But as of right now, not ideal that he didn't even get in when they switched the back out. He was not great. Not great about it.
Yeah.
And I have a ton of RJ Harvey. I have a lot.
I know you do. I know you wrote an article on Fantasy Alarm about RJ Harvey, and he was the guy I was drafting, like because I like TreVeyon Henderson. I drafted some, Marion Hampton, but like that because of where he kind of fell in like the 5th round or so with a lot of good wide receivers,
right?
Because I was drafting a lot of like the onesie guys. I was drafting elite quarterbacks. I'm drafting Brock Bowers, but I'm waiting on wide receiver. I'm like getting one, making sure I get an anchor, and then like rounds 5 through 8 are like almost purely wide
guys
receivers.
in there.
Yeah. So
and
he kind of fell in a weird spot.
People like texting me and like messaging me. They're like, "Oh yeah, RJ Harvey's awesome. This big run," and I was like, That's actually I would trade that big run for a handful of 2-minute drill snaps, even if he didn't touch the football. You know what I mean? Like that's not that's not necessarily repeatable from week to week. If he keeps doing that though, like that's how we got Kamara. Kamara came out and he was running back kicks. Same with David Johnson. Like he was running back kicks, and then they were just like, okay, let's just give this guy the ball. And then he was scoring long touchdowns. TreVeyon Henderson, like he in the preseason ran back the kick, had the 70-yard practice touchdown against the Commanders. Like that's what you got to do first to get those roles, but like they don't have them yet. We'll talk about it right now. Ramondre Stevenson played more than TreVeyon Henderson in all phases, every single phase, all 5. Early downs, pass downs, short yardage downs, 2-minute drill, all of it. So for now, it's a very weird split. It's not even the split that I thought, Tompkins. I thought we were going to get Ramondre on early downs and Henderson as like the James White on pass downs. They didn't even do that. They just basically rotated them, and Ramondre looked pretty rough.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of a going thing with last year, especially with Ramondre. But like, RJ Harvey feels like a guy that, because we know how Sean Payton, his I don't want to say aversion like to rookies, but he's gonna get drip fed. It's not going to be an overnight thing.
You got to stay out of that doghouse, man, because that dude holds grudges big time. Him and Bruce Arians are like the 2 grudge holding like curmudgeons, dude. Bruce Arians once cut a dude for parking in his parking spot.
I feel like there was something. Remember that All or Nothing show that was on Amazon? It was like the Hard Knocks ripoff, but it was they had the Cardinals. Like I remember that vividly.
It was the Wings. What it was? It was All or Nothing, and then there was like another it was like the Wings something. I remember watching those, dude, and he was like killing players, dude. He was he comes out. He was like, we got 1 wide receiver on the team right now, Larry Fitzgerald. Oh, because we have 2 wide receivers on the team, Larry Fitzgerald and Smokey Brown, and they had like 9 guys on the roster. So he just threw everybody under the bus. Like he is.
Because they had the running backs, because that was the year they signed Chris Johnson, and I think at the time they had Andre Ellington, and they're like, "Thank God you're here, Chris Johnson." When he's signing the contract, like, "Thank God you're here."
Right? He's brutal, man.
Yeah, but let's talk about your Patriots. We talked a little bit with TreVeyon and Ramondre, but like, we pigeonholed Kayshon Boutte as the X receiver last year, running a lot of routes, but. We just talked about it with the wide receivers. Like we're spoiled for these guys that come out and dominate right away. And sometimes it takes a little bit. Now that you get some, better guys, Will Campbell, you get as your franchise left tackle, second year Drake May. Some ambiguity in the Patriots wide receiving group. Obviously, you bring in Stephon Diggs too, into Matt Collins as well. But like Kayshon Boutte kept that role, ran the most routes out of any Patriot, and 6'1", 103. 139 air yards, like that's interesting to me to see a guy like that really kind of level up. Maybe it's a 1-game thing, but we saw him at the end of last season, have some pretty good games too. So I'm a bit interested. Like, what are your thoughts? Because this is something they desperately need. They don't have a lot of like, guys that you can depend on in the wide receiver. I mean, Diggs for the most part, Pop Douglas, pops every so often, no pun intended, but. What do you think about Boutte here? Do you think this is an aberration, or do you think this is something he can build off of?
Yeah, I mean, with this team, you got to remember they're going to use like the 2 tight end sets and the fullback, so you're not ever really just going to get like 3 wide receivers that are just the 3 guys. You know what I mean?
Before you continue, can I get an Earhart Perkins reference for the bingo card?
Oh yeah, dude. The Earhart Perkins system, dude. The 2 tight ends, the fullbacks. So I'm not entirely sure if they did use a ton of fullback yesterday. They did draft a kid named Brock Lampy, but so you're not going to get 2 guys.
Fullback name. Ooh.
Yeah, oh yeah, big time. Let me see if he played here.
I don't think he did. I think it was just Henderson, Stevenson, Gibson. I don't know if he was active, but yeah.
Let me just check real quick just to be sure. Okay, yeah, he did not. Yeah, no fullback. But they used, Austin Hooper, 23 snaps. Kyle Williams hardly played. We know that. Keyshawn Butte was the top guy. The question is whether Diggs was eased in because of coming off the ACL or whether he's just going to be a kind of part-time guy. Demario Douglas actually ran more snaps than him, but Douglas is, you're kind of, again, Pop Douglas is kind of the gadgety slot guy. I think Butte probably does need to be added in deeper leagues just because he came out and led the team. If you lead the team in snaps, routes, and targets, you got to be considered. Right? Yeah. Hunter Henry was actually second on the team in snaps, and he tied with him for targets. So we like Hunter Henry. The one thing with Hunter Henry that I did not like to see is that he was asked to block on a lot of pass plays. So he actually played like the entire game, but didn't run all the routes because he had to block on 9 pass plays because were struggling with Max Crosby and that pass rush. That's not going to be every week, but you don't want to see that, So, but I'm feeling good about Henry. I feel like it's like Henry, Butte, and Diggs. If you drafted Kyle Williams as of right now, you can probably drop him because he didn't play. It's going to be a slow ramp up for him, and we'll know when it's time to add him back. But if you drop him right now, no one's going to have him. So you don't even have to worry about that. But yeah, Hunter Henry looked good. Keyshawn Butte looked good. The team, if they're not going to win games like this against the Raiders, they could be in trouble.
Yeah, I know Pop Douglas has been pretty much a slot-only guy for the most part, too. I was interested to see if they would use Diggs more in the slot, too, because that's, when he was in Houston, before he got hurt, that he was pretty much a 55, 60% slot guy. And I thought, obviously he's over 30. That could be something where they can manufacture stuff to him, especially some quick stuff to get the ball out. And that was a little bit interesting to see him. He still had, a 30% slot rate, but, definitely under where he was last year. So that was interesting to see. And I was kind of expecting Mac Hollins to take a little more like the X receiver stuff. And that was pretty much all Booty.
Yeah, Mac is just a field stretcher. So you don't have to worry too much about him. But yeah, Keyshawn Booty, move him up. Yeah. It would be nice to see a little more consolidation from this team for fantasy. It's like they did spread it out a little bit after Butte and Hunter, and this isn't going to be a team. The other problem that you run into is that you look at it and you're like, okay, like all these guys got all this volume. This is not going to be a team that's going to throw 50 times every week like they did. So you got to keep that in mind.
Yeah. Last thing we'll talk about, and we've had a nice conversation here, but we're going to end it with a little Arthur Smith. I guess I don't even know what you call it, because we'll talk about this Pittsburgh backfield. I know some people, I believe it was John Paulson, talking about Kenny Gainwell, into the training camp, and Kenny Gainwell had every third down, the 2-minute drill, and then worked in with Jalen Warren and some of the short yardage stuff. Like, I was surprised. I wasn't surprised to see Caleb Johnson get almost nothing, but I was surprised to see Kenneth Gainwell basically be the 1B to Jalen Warren. And you could even argue 1A with Jalen Warren because, but, this is typical, your typical Arthur Smith, we talk about curmudgeons, point blank, front and center.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, throughout the preseason, here's the thing. This is exactly what they did in the preseason. So they weren't trying to fool anybody. During the preseason, Jalen Warren started every game and he didn't play any of the third downs in the preseason. Kenneth Gainwell played him. So basically what they did is this is the thought process I think they're going through here, Kev, is they said, okay, Jalen Warren already knows the pass down rule. We're going to make him Najee Harris. So he's going to be the early down guy. Kenneth Gainwell is going to come in and learn that pass down rule. And Caleb Johnson is going to come in and learn the early down rule. And that way, if Jalen Warren gets hurt, you keep Gainwell in his role and Caleb Johnson takes over Warren's role. And he only needs to learn that one part. If Kenneth Gainwell gets hurt, maybe what they do is they shift Warren back into his pass down role, which he already knows. and then Caleb Johnson goes into the one role that he knows, the early down role. It kind of simplifies things for the rookie, but unfortunately, what it also does for the rookie is it makes him the third man where he didn't even play. Caleb Johnson played 5 snaps, whatever it was. I really don't 2 snaps. I don't even remember seeing him on the field.
Yeah, it was literally only a handful. I have it right here.
Warren got
2 snaps. 2 snaps, 1 round,
bro. So Warren got most of the early down, though. Kenneth Gainwell. One thing is, once they were in a pass situation, Gainwell was getting the first down. Well, it was just out there. You know what I mean? So even on first down, but Warren is the early down and goal line back, and then Gainwell is a pass down back. So make what you will of it. Aaron Rodgers does like to audible to pass plays in the goal line situations. So could be interesting. I mean, it's just absolute nonsense once again. Calvin Austin played a decent amount, which I guess that for the Calvin Austin truthers of the world out there, that I know they're out there.
Top 2 play, him and Metcalf were over 85% of routes, and then it was slim pickings for Roman Wilson, Skoranek, who caught a touchdown, Scotty Miller. Like, look, Rodgers found his new Jake Kumaro and Ben Skoranek. I mean, that's nice to see.
Yeah, and just as predicted, I told you guys, Arthur Smith has never once had a tight end play more than 75% of the snaps on the season. Not Delaney Walker, not Kyle Pitts, not Pat Freiermuth, not Jonnu Smith on the Falcons, not Jonnu Smith on the Titans, and now not Jonnu Smith on the Steelers. 18 routes for Pat Freiermuth, 18 routes for Jonnu Smith. That's out of 34. So right down the middle. Jonnu got more targets, though, and Jonnu is, he's the more athletic guy, so probably can do more with less, but not interested in these guys unless one of them gets hurt. Just not going to do it. Not going to do it.
Yeah, not great. But we did get the Jonnu Smith. Well, technically it was a pass, the pop pass, but I'm sorry, I'm still calling it like a rushing play. The Jonnu Smith, the little pop pass or whatever. Yeah, you got that out of the way in week 1. So
only Patrick Mahomes gets credit for those touchdown passes. Everybody else, they are handoffs.
Oh man, we're coming up on the hour here. We're gonna wrap it up here because I know Coop, you got to. You're a busy man. Yeah. Do want to thank you for hopping on the maiden voyage with me. Appreciate it, brother. And let everybody know where further we can find you, because I know you're doing a lot of stuff, obviously, with Howard on Sirius as well.
Yeah, I tweeted out my schedule. It is aggressive as always, but my waiver article will be out tomorrow. All the favorites from behind the paywall, the target totem poll, the RB questionnaire, those will all be updated. Already hit the ground running on those. The DFS coach, all that stuff. My tight end rankings will be posted on Fantasy Alarm and on Reddit as always. And then we're at 1:00 all week long on the YouTube channel. And then I'm on Sirius XM 6 to 8 p.m. on Thursdays and Fridays, as well as 10 to 11 a.m. on Sundays. So you got to go out of your way to avoid me out in these football streets.
Love it. And I didn't get a chance to use this. So I just want to sneak this in before
Expired.
That might be Kenneth Walker, who I also have a lot of, dude. So
yeah, that's.
I do got to jump, brother. Thank you so much for having me on, man.
Yeah, we'll hop off here. We will see you same bat time, same bat channel here on Optimus Fantasy. Toodles.